Welcome to Using GrantSolutions for your CED grant. This presentation will provide an overview of how to use GrantSolutions over the life of your CED grant. The presentation will cover how to log into GrantSolutions, how to locate your grants, how to view your Notice of Grant Award, how to submit grant notes and amendments, how to view your grant history, and other available menu options that you may use as you implement your CED grant. We will first walk through how to access GrantSolutions and what it looks like. Users can log into GrantSolutions at www.grantsolutions.gov. You should bookmark this page in your browser so you can easily refer back to it, as you will be using it frequently throughout the course of the grant. Select the orange button near the top right to navigate to the login screen. If it is your first time logging in, you will be required to change the temporary password assigned by the system to something you will remember. For those of you who have already received your username and password and have accessed GrantSolutions to view your Notice of Grant Award, you may have already done this. You should only need to do this once, unless you have forgotten your password and need to reset it. If you do not have a GrantSolutions username or password, or a new staff person at your organization needs access to the system, refer to the Gaining Access to GrantSolutions resource, or contact OCS Registrar at icf.com. When using GrantSolutions, you may find that you spend much of your time in the Grants option under My Grants List. This option displays the most recently awarded grant or application for your organization. Here, you can select a variety of options that will allow you to take action on your current grant. If you have multiple grants, all of your active grants will appear on this page, so just make sure you are in the correct grant before doing anything in GrantSolutions. You can also filter this page so it shows your expired grants. You can do this by selecting the Show Expired Grants link. This table depicts each feature available under My Grants List and provides a description of how to use each feature. The first feature, View NGA, is where you will access your Notice of Grant Award, also referred to as the NGA or Awards Package. Next, Grant Notes allows you to view and upload notes for your grant. This feature also allows you to upload and view important documentation related to your grant. Through Grant Notes, these documents can also be shared with your program specialist and grants management specialist. Next is the History feature. This feature tracks all applications or grant actions throughout the grant's project period. You can also check on the status of amendments submitted here. Finally, the Manage Amendments feature is where you can access information about changes and revisions to your grant award, including the amendment application and its contents. You can also view amendments you have previously submitted. Now we will go into detail about the sections of My Grants List that you will use for your grant most frequently. We will cover when to use these options in GrantSolutions, specific documents that need to be uploaded, how they are uploaded, and how each section will be helpful to you as you implement your grant. We'll start with the View NGA option, which allows you to view the Notice of Grant Award for your grant. The Notice of Grant Award contains important information about your grant, such as the grant number, award amount, grantee information, and project and grant periods. For example, this would be the place to see who the authorized official on the grant is, or what the standard terms and conditions for the grant are. This will also be helpful to you because the Remarks section of the Notice of Grant Award provides important information about restrictions on your federal funds pending the submission of specific documents. Anytime you need to refer back to the Notice of Grant Award, select the View NGA option just as you see on this slide. Next, we will talk about Grant Notes. This feature allows you to view all of the notes for your particular grant and upload important documents for the Office of Grants Management and Office of Community Services to view. As we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, GrantSolutions allows for the electronic sharing of information by allowing grantees to collaborate with program offices and grant management offices. Additionally, it allows program offices and grant management offices to collaborate with one another about the grants they administer. By utilizing the Grant Notes feature, you will upload important documentation related to your grant that both your program and grants management specialists can access. Documents that grantees are expected to submit should be submitted to your OGM Grants Management Specialist through the Grant Notes feature. In general, grant-related documents should not be submitted via email as email attachments. Submitting through Grant Notes will ensure there is a record that the document was submitted, and it is visible to anyone who has a role in administering the grant. So in the next few slides, we'll go through the instructions on how to go about submitting documents through Grant Notes and what types of documents should be submitted through here. To access the Grant Notes feature on the My Grants List screen, you will select Grant Notes. It is the button directly under the View NGA option we discussed in the earlier slide. After selecting Grant Notes, you will be taken to the Grant Notes screen, which is what you see on this slide. A couple of items to keep in mind. To add a grant note, you will scroll down and select Add. On this screen, you'll also notice a key at the bottom that identifies what actions you can take once you upload a grant note. You will be able to view, edit, or delete the note. It is important to note here that only the user who created the note will be able to make modifications to it. This also means only the user who created the note will be able to delete it. After you select Add, the Grant Notes Add screen will appear as you see it on this slide. You'll see there are multiple fields where you need to input information about the grant note you are uploading. We will go over each of these categories and how you should fill them out now. First is the Subject field. This is where you will enter the subject or title of your grant note. You will want to make the subject something clear and concise that describes the document you are uploading. For example, if you are using CED funds to make a loan and are uploading the Disposition of Asset Plan of Loan form, you should make the subject of the grant note Disposition of Asset Plan of Loan form. The next field is Note Type. This is a drop-down field, and you will select the only option available, which is Correspondence. Selecting this option will notify your program specialist and grants management specialist assigned to your grant that you have added a grant note, so they will know to review it in GrantSolutions. The Category Type field is also a drop-down field, and you will select the option that describes the type of document you are uploading. If you are unsure what to select here, feel free to reach out to your program specialist or grants management specialist. Also, you can go back and edit this grant note after submission if you want to change the category you selected. You'll do this by selecting the Edit Grant Note icon we pointed out on the earlier slide. For the most part, this section will be helpful to upload documents that you would like your program specialist and grants management specialist to see, such as a Notice of Federal Interest or a Signed Disposition of Assets form. The Notes field is where you can provide a brief description of the grant note you are submitting. You should use this field to point out anything specific to your program specialist or grants management specialist related to the grant note. You can also upload documents and grant notes using the Attachments section. To attach a document to the note, click Browse in the Note Attachments section and select the file you would like to add. In the Description field, enter the name of the document you are uploading. The file name should be the same as the subject line. So, to use the previous example, if you are uploading the Disposition of Asset Plan of Loan form, that should be the information you enter in your description field. However, if you are attaching multiple documents, you'll want to describe the items you are attaching as accurately as possible in this field. Then you will click Upload to attach the file in the grant note. When you are finished completing all the required fields, review the information to make sure everything is correct, Then select Submit. This will redirect you to the grant note screen where the grant note you added will populate. If, after reviewing, you decide you do not want to add this particular grant note for any reason, instead of submitting on the Grant Notes Add screen, select Cancel. Now that you know how to upload documents to Grant Notes, we'll cover what documents can be uploaded here. Most of these are the documents that you received as part of the award package, and others are documents or requests that will need to be submitted as you begin to implement your grant. If you are unsure about whether or not you are required to submit certain documents, reach out to your OCS Program Specialist or OGM Grants Management Specialist. All of these documents discussed on this slide are submitted using the Grant Notes feature. As discussed earlier, this will allow you to keep all important information about your grant in one place where both your Grants Management Specialist and Program Specialist have access. The documents you will submit in Grant Notes are the following. The SF-428. This needs to be submitted at the end of your 3 or 5 year grant period. This form is required for grantees using CED funds to purchase equipment over $5,000 or to acquire or renovate real property, so any grantee that accrues federal interest. The Disposition of Asset Plan of Loan form. This form needs to be signed by the authorized official of your organization and submitted. Until this document is submitted, your federal funds will be restricted. Remember, this form is only required for grantees who plan to use CED funds to make loans. Disposition of Asset Plan of Stocks form. This form needs to be signed by the authorizing official of your organization and submitted. Until this document is submitted, your federal funds will be restricted. Remember, this form is only required for grantees using CED funds to purchase stock or make an equity investment. Additionally, when you acquire real property and accrue federal interest, you are required to file a Notice of Federal Interest, or NFI. A copy of this document must be sent to OGM through Grant Notes. This document should be filed before the conclusion of your grant. And finally, if you work with project partners throughout your grant, you will need to submit the project partner agreements, including loan and equity investment agreements, to Grant Notes. Beyond the documents we just covered, you may upload other documents to the Grant Notes that aren't added as amendments. And again, adding documents to Grant Notes is separate from submitting an amendment request, which we will go into detail about next. Now we will discuss using GrantSolutions to upload amendment requests. As we mentioned earlier in the presentation, you can initiate post-award actions in GrantSolutions, such as carryover requests, changes to project investigator or project director information, and other types of amendment requests. This is done using the Manage Amendments feature, which allows you to submit and access information about changes and revisions to your grant award, including the amendment application and its contents. You can also view amendments you have previously submitted in this section. The post-award actions that can be initiated in GrantSolutions include budget revisions. Ask your Grants Management Specialist whether to submit a Type 6 amendment, requiring prior approval, or a Type 8 amendment, not requiring prior approval. Change in grantee address, name change in project investigator or project director, change in authorizing official, change in scope. Again, ask your Grants Management Specialist which type of amendment you should be submitting, and no-cost extension. You can access the Manage Amendments section from the My Grants List screen. To begin a new amendment, click on the New button on the Manage Amendment screen, as you see here on the left of the slide. After selecting New, the Select Amendment Type screen will appear, as you see to the right of your slide. Select the Radio button for the amendment type you are creating. These will be the post-award actions we previously discussed. Once you choose the type of amendment to select, click the Create Amendment button at the bottom of the screen. Once you select an amendment type and the amendment checklist populates, this is where you will begin entering and/or uploading the requested data into each section. To do this, you'll select the Upload, Enter Online, or Enter Comments links by each section you are required to submit. Instructions for completing online forms are available by clicking the link at the top of each form. After completing the specific online form, you will scroll to the bottom of the screen where you'll see the options Save, Show Errors, or Close. There is an error function that will alert you if you are submitting information incorrectly. If you have an error, a red exclamation point will appear in the place you have an error, and you can correct this before you submit. Select Save, and the page will update and return. Then select Close. For example, say you are submitting a budget revision that does not require prior approval from OGM or OCS. You will select Budget Revision on the Amendment Type screen, and the amendment kit will populate in GrantSolutions, like you see on your screen. Notice the Enclosures column. This is where you will complete each section of the checklist by selecting the Upload, Enter Online, or Enter Comments links. After you select Enter Online, this screen will populate. Now remember, this screen is specific to a budget revision amendment, but we just want to point out that the online forms you will fill out for all post-award actions will have required fields for you to complete, and there is a link for specific instructions on completing the form at the top of your screen, as you see outlined on this slide. After completing online forms, you'll select Save or Show Errors. Then you will select Close, and you'll be redirected back to the Amendment Checklist page. The Amendments Checklist page will tell you when a form submitted has been completed successfully and when it has not. If there is a green check mark near the amendment you submitted, this means the form or selection was completed successfully. But if a red X appears, this means the data or form was not entered or uploaded successfully. This would indicate an error in the application and will require additional attention. And if a red triangle appears, it means that data has not been entered or uploaded. This warning suggests that the data in the specific section is incomplete. Once an applicant has fully completed the amendment checklist, so the green check mark appears on all sections, OCS and OGM will be able to electronically access this checklist and review the entire or individual components of the application checklist as required. Keep in mind that depending on the type of amendment you are submitting, OCS and OGM may have different protocols for who can submit, verify, and edit the amendment, so you will want to talk to them in advance about any amendments you plan on submitting. The screenshot shown on this slide is an example of a checklist that is not yet complete. In the status column all the way to the right, you'll notice the warning messages for 3 forms that need to be completed before the budget revision amendment can be completed successfully. During this process of submitting an amendment, we strongly encourage you to reach out to your program specialist or grants management specialist if you have any questions or do not understand why you are receiving an error message on a certain form. Now we will go over the Grant History feature. This feature tracks all applications or grants actions throughout the grant's entire project period. It allows the grantee to access all applications that have been submitted and the notice of grant award associated with the application, if an award was made. This section also allows you to check on the status of an amendment you've submitted or see previous post-award amendments that have been made to your grant, such as budget revisions or changes of scope, which will be helpful to you throughout your grant. You will access the Grant History feature on the My Grants List screen. This is the screen where you will access past applications and notice of grant awards. To access these documents, view the links under the Action column to the right of the screen. You will also notice the Status column, which is where you will track the status of amendments you've submitted. A menu across the top will display the variety of options you have within GrantSolutions, in addition to the My Grants list we just walked through. Options with a small arrow next to them contain additional drop-down items that you can select. We will describe these functions on the next 2 slides. First, account management. Under this section, you can use the Update Profile option to update your profile information, such as your address, phone number, or email address. Use the Change Password option to change your GrantSolutions password. The Funding Opportunity option displays the funding opportunities available, including non-competing application kits. However, these do not apply to the CED program. There is also the Applications section. Once you've begun an application, you can access it here. This link also displays any previous applications your organization has submitted and their status. The Grants section is where you'll access the My Grants list screen, which we just went over. The Reports option is not currently available for use by CED grantees, so you can ignore this feature in GrantSolutions for your CED grant. Online Data Collection System. This is how you will access OLDC, the system you submit your semi-annual PPRs in. In the next slide, we will go into a bit more detail on how you access OLDC from this home screen. The last option is Help/Support. This option provides access to various information, user guides, online training sessions, release notes, and additional information, including more registration information. We will provide instructions on how to access these guides and web-based training at the end of this presentation. We provided the contact information for the GrantSolutions Help Desk earlier in this presentation, but we'll also include it at the end for you to reference. You will access online data collection through the GrantSolutions menu. How the OLDC option looks to you within GrantSolutions will be a bit different depending on if you are a new or returning grantee. If you are a returning grantee with an existing GrantSolutions account that you have used to access previous CED grants, you will continue to log into GrantSolutions with your existing account credentials. After logging into the system, you will be taken directly to the GrantSolutions homepage, which will display your My Grant List screen, like we discussed earlier in the presentation. To access the online data collection system, you will select the menu item at the top of the screen titled Online Data Collection. Your home screen will look similar to Screenshot A on this slide. If you are a first-time grantee who just received your GrantSolutions login credentials after receiving your award, or if you are a staff person who has access only to OLDC, your login screen may look a bit different. This is a result of the GrantSolutions changes rolling out in the system that I mentioned earlier, so you should expect the look of the homepage and the OLDC link to change in the upcoming weeks. When you log into GrantSolutions, rather than the menu item at the top of the screen titled Online Data Collection, like in the Screenshot A on this slide, it may just have the acronym OLDC listed. Or when you log into GrantSolutions, you may see an option called Reporting and Monitoring. You will select this option, then select OLDC. It may look similar to Screenshot B on this slide. Although these changes are minor, if after logging into the GrantSolutions portal with your login credentials, you are unsure how to access OLDC, please contact us at ocsregistrar@icf.com. We will discuss OLDC more in the next presentation in this module, Reporting through OLDC.